G'day, welcome back. I'd especially like to welcome my new subscribers, and I hope you enjoy the content of my channel. If you missed part 3 of my tool and cutter grinder build, there's a link up there now. You can go watch that first, then come back and watch this one. Alrighty, so let's head over to the bench and I'll show you what I've got in mind for part 4. Over there. Alrighty, so as I mentioned in that last video, the weather forecast for the next week or so, 7 days or so, is not great. They're forecasting storms literally every day. After that big storm yesterday morning, it literally rained here all day, which is not all that conducive to making castings outside. So what I want to do is get in and make up all the foam bits to cast what I need for maybe this episode and possibly even the next. I want to make up a big base over here that will hold this piece of cut off McPherson strut as a riser to carry the motor and the spindle, and to try and keep the size of that casting down, I'll use a bit of one of these and press it in. I'll press this one in, and then this will pass down through it and into the base bit as well, just to try and make it a little more rigid. Then I have to cast up a piece that runs back across this way to carry the motor and the spindle, and then make up the spindle housing as well. The spindle housing will bolt on, fix this end, and I'll make the motor adjustable. I do have 2 pulleys and a belt coming. This is the style of belt, it's a 3M I think they call it, or an M3, something like that. 3M, a tooth belt, so it'll be a nice positive drive. I did measure the speed of this, I think it was 1470 from memory. But anyway, it's coming as 3 to 1 or 2 to 1. I can't remember now, but anyway, but it ups this to about 4,400 RPM, which I hope will be fast enough. While I was sitting around after making some stuff the other day, I was going through my scrap bag, and I always keep my little offcuts and stuff. And I've come up with these 2 bits here. It'll fit inside each other. I'll turn this one into the wheel guard by adding a couple more bits and pieces to it, but anyway, we'll make that one up as well. So I want to try and get as much casting done as I can while it's fine, because the weather really is starting to set in. But anyway, stick with me and we'll keep going with this, and I'll get on with it. Alrighty, quick update. Did a couple of drawings. This one will be for the block over the back. Going to have to hang this motor out a fair way. I was worried about being too far forward, but after measuring things up a bit more and everything, it's going to have to go back. I would like to mount it back here, but by the time I turn it around, I mean, you can run it backwards, that's not a problem. I like run it in the opposite direction to what it runs now. The motor would be way the hell over the back there. Someone would need a plate twice as wide as this one. So I'm going to run with it there, and hopefully I can get it over this way far enough and keep it away from all the grinding just somehow. So that's that one. And then this one is for the spindle. It won't be very long. I can only make it about 65 millimeters at most. Otherwise this motor's going to be so far back it's not funny. This bit here will sit on top of the arm, whatever arm I make to come across here. And I really can't design that until such time as the 2 pulleys in the belt get here, so I can have a look just where the motor sits and everything else. Anyway, that's enough. I think that's probably enough to keep me going for this episode anyway. So I'll get them made up and hopefully get them cast in the next day or so. Alrighty, I made these 2 up this morning, and it was raining up until lunchtime, and I thought there was no way I was going to get them out in the sun, but the sun finally came out about 1:30, so as long as it's not raining tomorrow morning, we'll be right to pour them. Alrighty, I'm really dirty with myself this morning. I did something that I advised everybody else not to do a couple of years ago when I first started making castings, and that is, don't use bloody swarf. It's just crap. The first crucible, when I thought it was full, by the time I scooped out all the garbage from the swarf, I had half a crucible. And in the end, this ended up taking nearly twice as long as it should have, and I nearly ran out of charcoal in the end. But anyway, time to find out whether we got 2 decent castings or not, and I'm not 100% certain we do. Oh, that's a worry. This one will be okay, that's the second one. Well, it's alright, and I'm glad it stopped where it stopped. I actually filled from the top, so if it did come up short at all, it'll always mean that you sheen it off, but that's okay, that'll do me. Alrighty, so I'll give them a little longer to cool off, and then we'll get into machining them up. Alrighty, so I've ended up with a couple of defects in these things, none of which was in the foam, because I spent a lot of time dressing the foam up, but I've got defects in here. That's like it bolts flat down on that surface, so it's only a matter of machining it flat. There's another little one there, which I don't know where that came from. And this you can see is material flowing. This one burnt. It's poured out black smoke for quite a while after I'd sort of run out of material. That's the one where the can just sort of wasn't even attached anymore. I think that wasn't hot enough, to be honest with you. That's what all that is. Because that had to burn an awful big chunk of foam away. Now this one's worse. And I'm starting to wonder if, like I said, I was running out of charcoal and probably could have done with just a bit longer. I don't think this was hot enough either, because that, you know, that's a flow problem there as well. There's a big chunk missing out of here, so I don't know what happened there. There's a bit missing out of here, but I'm really hoping that won't stop me from using this bit. But if I have to, I'll recast it. I don't want to, but if I have to, I will. Anyway, we'll machine this one up in the mill first. Alrighty, that's looking pretty crappy. I think what I might do is just leave that like that for the time being, get some of that metal filled 2-pack epoxy, just fill all these crappy bits in here up, remachine that, because like I said, that's just the surface that gets bolted flat down to that steel plate. Right, we're going to clean up some more of it. Righty, so that's that for the time being, until I putty the other side up and remachine it. I'm going to go have some lunch now, and we'll get into the spindle in the lathe after this one, after lunch. And then I'll get out and get some of that putty and putty this thing up and finish machining that bit tomorrow. Alrighty, geez, I'm peeved about that. I am really pissed with myself about the state of this thing. I spent a lot of time making this one up, and it was just about bloody perfect, so to have it end up like this is just really disappointing. I might actually just machine this a little bit, putty this lot up as well, because this end here will get the guard for the wheel on it, so you know it'll have something clamped around any putty and stuff I put in here anyway. This part here, you know, it'll just change the way it sits on the cross member coming across from the other side, so it probably doesn't matter that much. On a mill, I'll just mill that flat. I'll putty these holes and stuff up as well. Anyway, we'll get on with this. I'm just going to go down the clamp and something around here, path again, but it doesn't seem to be too bad, vibration wise. Anyway, keep going. Actually, I think I will strap something like that. It is vibrating a fair bit. I'll come back to you. Alrighty, in all honesty, I don't know if this is really much better. But anyway, I'll get on with it. Alrighty, this end's actually a little bit bigger than that end, so I think I'll leave that's at just 0.02 under 50mm at the moment, so I'll patch all this up and then remachine this end afterwards, but I'll do that in now. Righty, I'll just put a chamfer on this edge. I'll putty that up later. All this end done. Alrighty, well I'm going to get that out of there, knock this thing off and putty all these friggin' things up, ready for tomorrow. Alrighty, so I put this stuff on yesterday afternoon, but before I did that, I got into it with my die grinder and a little carbide burr to A, roughen the surface up, and B, get rid of any of this, you know, that black, horrible black stuff that tends to sit in the bottom of all those things, to hopefully make sure it hung on a bit better. This one isn't the one with the metal in it, but it dries as hard as a rock, so hopefully it'll be okay. Alrighty, so I didn't bother to video any of this because I'll be honest with you, I've spent 2 hours playing around with it. So once that's all painted, no one will ever know that it was a stuff up on my part. It's quite amazing how little, you know, how bad this looked, although I had to machine a bit more off that. But I'm going to just, you know, clean these up some more and get them looking a whole lot better. This cleaned up alright. There's quite a bit of fill in there, but like I said, this stuff goes pretty hard, so I don't think it'll be an issue. Although there's a bloody soft spot there. This will have 2 bolts down through here to bolt it onto the cross member coming across from that stand I've got to make yet. Alright, so I've got to bore this now for bearings and seals, but I won't bore you with drilling it out. I might bring you back when I get the boring bar out. Alrighty, so not as to bore the hell out of you, I drilled and bored that to 30mm. We now have to bore it out to fit this bearing and seal. And there's a storm rolling around here at the moment, so you might hear a bit of rumbling. Bearing is 34.9798 according to that thing, so I bore it at 35 or thereabouts. Seal is the same size, well obviously a little bigger, and the combo is 18.8, so I'm going to go in about 19. Alright, time to get out the bore gauge. .4. Alrighty, I think we got that about where I want it, so I'm not going to mess with that anymore. Alright, so I'm not going to fall in the same trap that I fell in with that other part, and I'll make an arbor up to glue this end on, only this time not to try and heat it off. I might just pour some acetone down there and let it sit for a while to try and break the super glue off once we finish machining it up. But the next step will be to make an arbor. Alrighty, so we're there on that end. So what I'm going to do now is get this off there, and rather than putting any heat in it because of all this filler, I'm just going to pour a heap of acetone down this hole. It puts a nice big chamfers on the arbor to help get it in, and hopefully it will soften it up so I can get it off without putting any heat in it. Alrighty, that acetone proved to be a complete waste of bloody time. I actually filled it, like plug inside, filled it all the way to literally the top and left it sit till it all sort of disappeared, and it was useless. I had a hell of a time getting out of that. Put a lot of heat into it. That destroyed some of this and I had to redo it, but even that looks like it needs redoing. But that looks a lot smaller than it did before because I decided to kick it up a bit this way, machine some more off it to get rid of the bulk of that. There are 2 bolts to go in here, one about here somewhere, another one about there, so it kind of misses that shit anyway. So I dropped the damn thing on the floor when I was trying to get this bloody thing out, damaged the edges, and then I was trying to mill all this down a bit this morning and it didn't tighten it properly and the tool bit in, so that's another thing I've got to putty up. But anyway, well, all I got left to do to this one now is to put those 2 holes in there, counter bore them, and I'm pretty sure you've seen plenty of that in the past, so I won't bother to video that. Alrighty, it's time to do some more to this mounting block for over the back. So while you weren't looking, I've milled that back off again after filling up that hole, and I did the same as I did with the other one, went in a bit deeper than I planned to go to get rid of the bulk of it. I've already pre-drilled it. I'm now going to stick a 16mm end mill down in there. What I've got to do is make some room for this nut and washer to go down in here. Right, now before I start this, I want to show you something. This is that 20mm end mill I tried to use earlier on that just wouldn't cut. When I looked at it a bit more closely, this thing had a negative rake on it. They were ground like that. I wonder it wouldn't cut anything. So I have just touched that up on the bench grinder by hand, just see if we can't get it to cut. It's only aluminium, wouldn't try it in steel, but anyway, we'll give this a go. The difference, a decent grind, mate. This is chalk and cheese. Alrighty, now that's not big enough, and I couldn't be bothered putting the boring head in because I've got to do other things before I get it out and change it over on the opposite side. So I'm going to cheat a bit, and I'm just going to use this hole saw to open that up enough. Well, that was a nice little shortcut actually. I remember that one. Never tried that before. It'll certainly do the job. So now I'll flip it over and set it up to the other side. Alrighty, so that works so well on the other side. I'm going to do it on this side. Because over in the lathe there's a piece that needs to press into here, and I haven't machined the end of that yet. That has to fit in there, so I'll cut this hole and then just machine it to fit that. Just to press in fit. Alrighty, there's a little tiny lip in there, but I'll get rid of that. Alrighty, I don't think I got my vise to open far enough to push that in there, so I can't leave it too tight or I won't be able to knock it in. Alrighty, I'll just take a quick chamfer that edge, take a quick skim off here, turn it around, skim off the rest. But I won't video that, and then we'll go fit that in there. Alrighty, so if you haven't been picking up what I've been putting down, that's where that thing goes, there. And now, I've got to say, that bit there, that almost makes up for all the shitty bits in these other two parts. But anyway, that's where that goes. Now this is not entirely finished. I need to put a couple of bolt holes in here. I just needed to have a look, see where this damn hole was here so I don't run into that. And I want to drill down this way so I can put 2 bolts through here into the back edge. Do a pull up tight in there. Decided last night to help me figure out this thing for the back here. I've got some of this 20mm thick timber left from my old kitchen. I might cut a piece of that off, put a 20mm hole on it so it fits over that, and a bit of a screw in it, so I can use this to work out where everything needs to sit, and then work out a pattern to make an aluminium one to go in there. Well, that's about it for today. I've just about had a gutful. So, just one thing. I wish those dogs would shut up. I got out the really long 3mm end mill I've got. I put 2 cuts down through here so that it gives me somewhere to get down in there with a pin punch, knock the bearings out if I need to, which is something I think a lot of people probably overlook. Anyway, this stack won't be here because this will sit on top of whatever comes across this way. Something else I want to do with this, just let me move this camera a bit so you get a bit more height. You can see all the shit behind it. I want to make another sleeve like this up on the top here with a bolt in it that will give me some fine adjustment up and down for this whole arrangement here. So that'll be part of whatever I make for here. But anyway, so next cab off the rank will be to make a spindle out of this rusty looking old bit of shit here. Put in there. Alrighty, because we're already out beyond 20 minutes, decided I'd save a bit of video time this morning, and I have faced and centered both ends of this piece of steel. I've now machined it down to 20mm to fit this. I've drilled that ready for an M8 thread, but I'm not going to thread it now because I want to finish this between centres and I don't want the thread affecting the way it runs. So I'll stop this, get that off, get my between centres set up and finish turning this between centres. Alrighty, I've had to spend a fair bit of time trying to realign the tailstock on this, which is not an easy task because there's no fine adjustment on it. It's just a bit of a tappy tap tap. I think it should be pretty close now. That is 24.23. 24.27. So that, what's that? There's 4/100ths of a millimetre over that length. I can live with that. Alrighty, I'll bring you back. It'll take fair bit. I've got to go down to 20 mil and then turn it down to 15 mil and then turn it down to 14 mil and then turn it down to 10 mil. I'll bring you back later. The 15mm ID bearing sits on that, and at the moment that's about 6.5 over 15mm. That's incredibly hot, so I think I'll let that cool down a bit and then measure it again. Alrighty, the pulleys, I've got a notification to say they are out for delivery, so hopefully they'll get in the next hour or so. That is now 0.25 bigger than 10 mil, but I don't want to finish that until that pulley gets here so I can check to make sure what the inside diameter is. This is now 13.8. I want to cut a 14 by 1 thread on that. Got to get down the road and buy a nut because I couldn't be bothered making a nut. It's actually 5.85 under that. And these are a little bit all over the place. This is the bearing area here, bearing and seal. That's saying it's 0.03 over, but up in the middle here, 0.065 over. And down here it's just about bang on. That's a couple of hundredths over. But anyway, like I said, that's a bit warm. So I might duck down the road, grab my iced coffee and a 14 by 1 nut and some other bolts that I need, and then when I come back this should be cooled down. Maybe those damn pulleys will be here. Perfect timing. You were sitting out at the gate as I got back, and this bit of shaft I got here fits it perfectly. So I've now matched that to this, so that'll fit on there perfectly, no problems at all. This I left about 3 or 4 mil too long so that I could thread it, but by the time I machine that back up to where it should be okay. It's only a little thin nut, so it can get machined back a fair bit actually. But I'll do all that when I've got to put 3 jaw chuck back on, grip it on here so I can cut that thread because I can't do it in there. At this point in the video, I'd like to thank my patrons. This continued support is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to become a patron, there's a link down in the description. You can sign up there and drop me a couple of dollars every month. If you don't want to be a regular contributor, there's always buy me a coffee. Now let's get back to the build. Alrighty, so there we have it. Seal fits on there nicely. Both the bearings fit really nice. That fits on nicely. So I'll get it in the chuck and I'll thread this and tap this out to M8. Alrighty, shitty casting. What's shitty casting? Well, I've lost a bit of paint there already. I've got a bloody fingerprint in the top. But anyway, all set up now. While you weren't looking, I've cut some flats in here for a spanner, so I can loosen and undo that. Made this bit up for the front. Cut a couple of flats on here for clamping screws for the little pulley, which I don't see. What have I done with it? Don't know. Anyway, that's where we're at with that now, so that's pretty much completed. I've cut this bit of timber up to try and figure everything out and realised this doesn't work the way I was thinking it would work in my head, because this thing sticks up too far, which means I'll have to cut it off. I wanted to machine up another piece that would fit in the top of the casting I've got to make for there yet, so I can put the adjusting screw in the top of it. I can't do that because this motor's got to sit up here somewhere and all this is in the way. For the benefit of recent comers to this channel, some people use Fusion 360 to design things. I use my own version called Confusion 24/7. And in the wee small hours this morning, because believe you me, when I build things like this, sleep is a real issue for me. I can't get to sleep after time, and if I wake up I can't get back to sleep. And last night I had maybe 3.5 hours sleep at best. But in the wee small hours this morning, it suddenly occurred to me how I can solve this problem here. But we're running out of time this week, and so I'm not going to be able to do any more in this video, and you'll have to come back next week to see how I overcome this problem here. But anyway, if you've been enjoying this video, make sure you give it a great big thumbs up, smash that like button, because you know it helps me out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Bye bye.